Hey there, and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug video. And today we're going to be talking about the Illuminati. Well, the Miraculous Illuminati. This isn't really a topic I was ever expecting we'd have to be addressing on this channel, to tell you the truth. After all, it is a bit of a ridiculous concept when you think about it. When the story first started, it really was a case of being an isolated billionaire seeking magic jewels and doing it all alone. Along the way, hints were dropped that there was more to it than it seemed, and with the Alliance rings it became clear that Tomoe had a lot more knowledge and involvement than you would have expected. Combine that with the fact that the show really honed in on Audrey's reaction to the return of the Order of the Guardians, and I think by season 5 I felt like there was a little conspiracy amongst the rich characters and that they know a lot and have been doing a lot in the background. Plus the sentiments of children and all that sort of thing. It's very convenient. But now we have even more people entering the equation, and the show's suddenly loaded up with potential villains for the heroes to go up against. Suddenly, it feels like you really could stretch the show out for all these seasons, just like Asterix says. I'm actually pretty impressed, to tell you the truth. Here we are though. In the recent episode release, El Toro de Piedra, we got a look at what seemed to be a mysterious organisation who are pursuing their agenda of creating a perfect world. As part of that, their goal is to obtain the Miraculouses of the Ladybug and the Cat. I'm pretty sure that this is only one part of their goal though, because otherwise, why would they only have one person at a time working towards the goal, when if they all pooled their resources and worked together, it would probably work faster? Anyway, the Diamond was originally in charge of getting the Miraculouses, and we see the vote to transfer that objective and Natalie's aid to the machine. The way it seems to work is that it's a council of 12 members, all of whom are rather secretive and refer to each other by code names and symbols. Working for each member seems to be shadows such as Natalie, who was originally the Shadow of the Diamond, aka Gabriel Agreste. Since it was just introduced in one episode, it is a pretty limited amount that we know about this group and what their ultimate goal may be. That being said, we do know some things. There are 12 members, each represented in their voice chat by an image. There's what seems to be an eye of providence within a star, a brick wall, an ink pen, a wheel, a scepter, a diamond, a wheat stalk, a gear from a machine, comedy and tragedy masks, a sword, fire, and a molecule. But who are they all? Well, luckily enough for us, I think we can puzzle some of it out based on what they say within the episode. We'll start with the Diamond. They pretty much explicitly say within the episode that this is Gabriel. When asking what the hell the Diamond was up to, Natalie essentially shrugs and says, "No clue, I was dead." On top of that, she's referred to as the Diamond's shadow, so it becomes very, very obvious. The Diamond is Gabriel Agreste. After this, we learn that the wheat is Natalie's own father, when she explicitly says so at the end of the meeting when it's just the two of them. I doubt this is a character we've ever actually seen appear on screen before, so it's going to be fresh. Almost certainly we're going to see them appear at some point though. I suspect that some of these episodes are going to feature these characters, but we will have to wait and see on that score. The other one that I think is rather clear is the Machine. Over the course of the discussion, reference is made to the Machine having intimate knowledge of what Gabe's plans were, and being more than willing to pick up where he left off. Well, the only character that really fits that bill, and is also a woman, would be Tomoe, right? Plus her company makes technology, machines, yeah, it's 100% Tomoe. That means we already have 3 of the 12 penciled in with confirmed characters, but can we do any more of them? Are there any other characters who would have fit the bill? Can we fill out those 9 other slots? Well, first up, we need proper candidates, don't we? How can we do that? Why? Perhaps by taking a look at some key events. If Gabe is the Diamond, then the Diamond Dance may be somewhat related to this secretive group of elites. After all, Tomoe was invited to the event, and she's almost certainly the Machine on that council. Thus, I think we can perhaps try to draw some conclusions. So the other named attendees are Andre, Audrey, Chloe, Zoe, as well as Prince Ali and his chaperone. I doubt that both Andre and Audrey are going to be on some super top secret council. Let's be real, Andre pretty much admits that he was Audrey's whipping boy and he did whatever she asked. On top of that, he also seems to lack a spine when it comes to other powerful figures, such as Gabe. Thus, I don't see him being on the council. I could see Audrey though, and I think it is likely she's one of the 12. After all, let's not forget that when the Guardians made their return, she was one of the characters that the episode honed in on for a reaction shot alongside other key characters, like Gabe and Tomoe. Thus, she is a council member, I reckon. Which one though? Well, I think you can rule out some of them rather easily, as I suspect they are going to have some relation to the character's personality. She ain't going to be the molecule. I also think the fire, sword, and wheel don't really fit the vibe, or the brick wall. The masks and the scepter, they had masculine voices. The pen, I don't know, I doubt that fits either. By process of elimination, this leaves the eye inside the star, which I suppose could work. Regardless, Audrey's in and Andre's not. Audrey's symbol, I will admit, that's the one I'm more shaky on, to tell you the truth. But I'm going to settle for the eye because I think it fits her characterization. All eyes on her. Plus, it's similar to the Eye of Providence, and her character does seem like she has a bit of a type of god complex where she needs to be worshipped at all times. Who else could be involved though? Well, Zoe was invited to the dance. You could argue this is just because of her connection to Audrey and Andre, pulling her into the upper echelon of society. But at the same time, there is room for more, isn't there? I mean, the reality is that her father is probably a somebody. I don't see Audrey being all that keen to have an affair with some dead ender, And I'm pretty sure that Zoe went to a good school and everything. He also seems to be a shit parent, which is a running theme across the known members and other speculated members of this group so far. I think he could fit. Then we also have Prince Ali attending this thing. At first, I'll admit I scoffed at the thought of this guy being a member of some secret society. It's absolutely ridiculous. But then I remembered, well, he's not the king of whatever place he's from, or the queen, I suppose. Thus, his mum or dad could be a member of the society. But what would that symbol be, do you reckon? Well, I suppose you could go to the scepter, right? That's up there with the crown as a general symbol for royalty, so there could be that. Then again, I also thought the scepter sort of reminded me of a torch, perhaps the torch of the Statue of Liberty. It's not exact, but it's vaguely there. Maybe Mr. Lee, who lives in New York City. But that exhausts our Diamond Dance members. I think perhaps if you widen the net, though, you could potentially include the Graham family. I know the granddad had a change of heart, but doesn't mean he changed in every aspect of his life, does it? Beyond that, maybe the criminal dude from Shanghai? He seemed pretty in tune with things and had connections with Gabe and Natalie. Could be something there too. So now a bit of a speedrun summary. The eye for Audrey, as we discussed earlier. The brick wall could be Cash from Shanghai, China, Great Wall of China, maybe. Either that or it's not actually a brick wall at all. Could it be meant to represent a castle? After all, isn't there an episode coming legitimately called The Dark Castle? That immediately makes me think of Adrian and Felix's maternal grandparents. Thus, maybe the castle's Lord Graham. The pen and the wheel are unclear to me, and honestly, I do think some of these characters are not around yet, and they're going to be held in reserve to draw the story out as long as you can. Why wouldn't they? They legitimately got 5 seasons, numerous specials, and a feature film adaptation simply off of Gabe alone. You could easily stretch this out for the long haul, as long as you maintain the episode quality. The scepter or the torch could be the two that I mentioned before. If we're looking at it as a scepter, there is an episode called Ruler coming out, which could be relevant to the scepter character. However, then we also have the Zoe backstory on the horizon, which could draw her biological dad in, and so it could be the torch. Who really knows? We know the diamond was Gabe, we know the wheat is Natalie's dad, and we have all but confirmed the machine is Tomoe. The mask? People have been talking about how perhaps the mask is Lila/Cerise/ whatever. I don't think I'd agree, to tell you the truth. It's not a 100% no from me, but I think it's rather obvious that this secret organization has been around for a significant amount of time. After all, it seems as if Gabe, Natalie, and Tomoe had been working together for a very, very long time, over a decade. Thus, for her to infiltrate this organization just like that, it would make it seem like a massive joke. I think it also just ups the intensity of the story if there are multiple people that are trying to get the Miraculouses all for their own purpose. Not all villains should be on the same team. There should be competing interests. Just my thoughts. This leaves the Sword, Flame, and Molecule. No idea who they could be. Like I said, it's probably something that's going to be revealed over time with some fresh characters. However, now I want to talk about goals. Now, we know that they have that Perfect World initiative, but what does that actually entail? We know a big part of it seems to involve trying to get their hands on the Ladybug and the Cat Miraculous. To be honest, they seem like a pretty generic sort of evil council type trope, so their version of a perfect world is probably in regards to them being able to control it and dictate how it functions. However, the 12 seats I guarantee are going to function like the 12 Olympians from the Greek pantheon, all arguing and jostling for position, fighting amongst themselves, like how Natalie's dad wants her to give him the Miraculouses if she gets them, when she's supposed to be working for the machine now. I suspect that none of them actually want to share any power at all, and there's going to be factions and competing interests. I mean, remember how Tomoe beat the hell out of Gabe for using her during Season 5? Remember how Gabe and Tomoe had always planned to use and discard Chloe and thus betrayed Audrey too during the finale of Season 5? Lots of backstabbing and backroom deals is what I'm expecting. But if they all have competing interests, what are they? Well, in the aftermath of the episode's release, there's been a lot of discussion about that, to tell you the truth. People have been trying to link the different symbols to some of the different Kwame concepts that we've seen in the show. Of course, all of them are going to be linked to the Ladybug and the Cat. They all want to wish, and so they need to destroy to rebuild. But in all honesty, the concept of the perfect world that each character has is likely very different. Initially, I thought, well, then for the rest, if we just exclude those extra Miraculouses, we can keep the 12 Zodiac Miraculouses. After all, there are 12 symbols, and thus having them be represented by another set of 12 makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But then I started digging into it, and some of the Kwames have spheres of influence that don't really work here, so I took a more general look at things, still removing the Cat and the Ladybug from the equation, but allowing some of the other Miraculouses back into the mix. Now, before I go any further on this topic, I will just say that for a lot of these, you really do have to strap on your tinfoil hat. Crack theories are always a lot of fun, but for now, without extra information, that's just what it remains, a crack theory. If you have any alternate thoughts on some of these, or just have a completely different idea as to what the perfect world scenario would be, feel free to make it known. Here's simply my version. They're going to want pure control, and that's a given. All of them want to be in charge, but what's that going to look like? We'll start with Gabe, he's the diamond. What is a diamond useful for in the end? Looking at, because it's beautiful, it's perfect. Hence, you can link the diamond with the concept of perfection. Look at what he wanted. His wife to come back to complete his family. Look at how he treated his son. He turned him into an object of love and desire of the whole world. Somebody who can be looked at and observed, but isn't allowed to have any sort of agency of his own. With the diamond out of the way, considering he no longer matters because he's dead, we can double back left to right in the way that they're viewed in the council. We'll start off with the eye inside the star. Going with our guess that this is Audrey, I think the most obvious choice of Kwame concept would be adoration. She has a very similar personality to Chloe. That desire to be marveled at and adored by all, to be famous and beloved, worshipped above all others, even by the other members of this society. That's the vibe I'm getting from Audrey, and it feels like the type of thing that she'd wish for above all else, status and prestige. Next up, we have the brick wall. This one feels very straightforward, protection, the turtle. Now, in the context of a perfect world, what would this mean? I think it means one that is unchanging, never moving, protected, retaining the same values forever. Essentially the conservative mindset of being stuck in the past, afraid of change. It feels like the type of thing that would suit an old snooty lord from the UK, wouldn't it? Protecting your old values. So maybe Lord Graham does work for this one. But you could probably have it work for anyone, really. It's just my first instinct. Following up from that, we have the pen, which I'd associate with pretension, which is defined by the action of making a claim about something. A pen can be used to rewrite and state anything the author claims to be true. In essence, it's another way to control the world with whatever you decree to be truth. You can then couple that with the obvious pretentiousness that I think all members would have, considering they're attempting to control the world. And in all honesty, I think we have a very dangerous member on our hands. I can already see people speculating that Lila could be involved with the pen, as she's documenting absolutely everything going on in her plans and in the lives of Parisians in general. But I'm not too sure. It feels odd to have her being involved in the Order at all, especially when she wasn't invited to the Diamond Dance. It could be something connected to her though, maybe a mysterious father? We'll see. The wheel would be migration. That one felt obvious. Wheels move and are on vehicles which you use to migrate. What is a perfect world using this concept though? One of two things perhaps. Either they play off current events and have a character who has an anti-immigration stance, which to be honest feels rather unlikely. I don't see them straying that far into racism and xenophobia in this show, no matter how topical it is right now. The other idea would perhaps be some sort of no borders, all peoples as one type of world. Think the flag smashers from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. A type of anti-nationalist utopia, obviously ruled over by this specific guy. Nobody's going to be benevolent. Next, we have the scepter or the torch, which I'd associate with determination. Since Gabriel died, they were the next member to take control of the council and organise their next move. That, alongside their symbol of a scepter, which would indicate their ideal being a sovereign ruler, and having the most control would be something that would take a lot of determination. This member's likely going to be the most stubborn and unforgiving in their quest for the perfect world. If you take the symbol to be a torch, like I speculated, maybe a reference to the Statue of Liberty, and therefore be Zoe's dad, it still kind of works. Holding the torch is symbolic for leading the way and being the person that everybody looks to govern and control. In a setting where you have at least 11 other members being extremely ambitious for absolute power, you'd have to have complete determination. And that's why I think the scepter/torch would have this quality. Moving along, we have Natalie's dad, whose symbol is some type of grain. I know everybody's latched onto wheat, but it could be another type of grass like barley or anything else really. Might not be all that important, but we'll see. I would put forward transmission as their ultimate goal. Now that's pretty broad, but for me, I'm largely going off their previous behaviour as a clue. Natalie, who was this man's daughter, initially worked for Tamoy, but she was then sent to help Gabriel and Emily find the Miraculouses. Since she worked for them, the ties between the Agreste and Sarugis became closer. She helped Gabriel rise to prominence in the real world, and was his second in command whilst he was Hawkmoth. She was willing to do anything to help him accomplish his goals. Since his death though, her focus has seemingly been on Adrian and helping him. All of this on the surface is very normal. Loads of people change jobs, help their boss become an evil villain, and adopt their orphan son. However, I think there's more to it than that. In a group where everybody's obviously vying for power for themselves, there has to be someone that thinks power in one person or a group's hands unchanging is a terrible idea. I think Natalie's dad is one of those people. That's why he sent her to work for Tamoy, and the chain of events unfolded. That's why he's asked her to give him the Miraculouses. Because he doesn't trust anybody else, and thinks that they're all going to become dictators. Obviously this is ridiculous hypocrisy, but that's where I think he's coming from. I think it wants the powers to move and change, like a stalk swaying in the wind, or maybe a seed from the stalk getting carried off somewhere new to grow. Power shifting and changing like the life cycle of a plant. Maybe not completely out of the group, but at least so no one person's idea becomes the sole focus and they stagnate on that. You want to keep growing. The machine is intuition. Intuition is defined as the ability to understand something instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. It kind of feels like her idea of the perfect world would be one that's completely precise, with technological progress used to control the populace. I'd view it as some sort of cyberpunk dystopian police state, where emotions sacrifice for pure progress and cold analysis. That's what I'd expect from the machine. The masks represent illusion. This one is a bit difficult for me to tell you the truth. Perhaps this would be the mask ruling over all, but with no real evidence of them doing so. Being the undisputed top dog, but nobody really knows. They're hiding behind the mask and giving people the illusion of freedom and that nothing's different. Either that, or you could swing hard into creating a dystopia that's filled with crazy propaganda, eating up every single thing this person says and does, even when it's very obviously bullshit. The sword would be action. Feels pretty self-explanatory here. Control via strength is what I'd assume the sword would want. The best defense is a good offense type of vibe, with the strength to crack down on dissent. For now, that's the best we can do. Second last, we have the flame, which to me feels obvious as passion. This member is most likely a strong contender for being completely unpredictable, but completely committed too. You can be passionate about many things, good or bad, but that level of emotion can often be paired with a lack of self-control or not seeing the bigger picture. I'd anticipate this person gets taken advantage of by the others, but also has crazy wrath. Their perfect world image probably changes quite a lot on a whim. I don't think they'd be fixed in one place for long, but once they have a desire for things to be a certain way in the moment, they become unchangeable. The molecule is surely evolution. I'd expect this member wants rapid scientific development at whatever the cost. The rapid evolution of human society and understanding to create the world of the future today. So that's the last of the Illuminati to deal with, and honestly, there is so much we don't know. We could be on the money here or literally have nothing in this video correct at all. We had fun though, and that's what matters most. And so with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of our thoughts on this massive development? You agree with me? Maybe not? Maybe you have a completely different take. Care to share? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.